Hello. Alright, let's get into the Jerry's art haul. We will get into the palette later when I fill it, but we'll put that aside for now. So to start off, I got one of those watercolor blocks. I've never had one before, and I figured it'd be fun to try out, make cards or small pieces of art for friends, family, or myself, whatever. This is the New York Art Supply brand that they sell at Jerry's. I believe it's like one of their own brands. It's really nice, and I'm excited to try it out. I also got this Soho paper palette pad. This is another one of their brands. I thought that maybe this would be good for my watercolors, but I did not read it properly, and it's one of those palettes that you use with like oils, acrylics, stuff like that. So I'm going to put that aside. I will eventually use it, but probably not anytime soon, unfortunately. Next up are the blenders for my soft pastels. I only have one blender, so I figure I could use a few more. And yeah, not super interesting. Just some blender sticks. Let's see. I got some small canvases. I was wanting to do just small pieces of art. These were really, really affordable. I think they were definitely less than $1 a piece. They were a few cents each, maybe like 30 cents or something, which was awesome. And again, it's Soho brand. So I also got some of these little pouches for the artwork. This pack was really affordable. It comes with 20, and I want to say it was like $5, and I thought that would be really useful for whenever I'm mailing artwork to people. This was just kind of a catalog of Holbein colors, and I got some of those jelly roll pens, just some new colors, and some really nice handmade paper. But we're going to try out the jelly rolls right now. So we're just going to test out these Moonlight jelly roll pens in the really horrible lighting that I have going on here. But I have the neon or fluorescent yellow and a neon or fluorescent pink. I'm not sure what you would call it, but very pretty either way. And then I have some handmade paper coming up here. I'm not sure of what the GSM or any of that specifics for this paper is. I just know that it was under $1. It was very affordable at Jerry's, kind of like the canvases. So if you're looking for that type of stuff, definitely check it out. I'm sure Blix is similar in pricing. Coming up, we have something interesting and new for me. It's an encaustic paint stick made by R&F Paints. It's handmade paint, and I got it in Mars Yellow Light because it was one of the cheaper options that they had. I'm still not really sure how much I'm going to like this, or the heating element portion of it. Like, I'm not sure what I'm going to use. I had to look this up. And if you don't know what encaustic paints are, like I did not know, you might want to look it up as well and look at the process. I think they're really interesting, very cool to use. They're like a traditional type of medium, but we will see. I will film a video whenever I do get around to using this little block. So next up is this beautiful set of water-soluble pastel painting sticks. There are 48 really pigmented colors in here for $19, and I thought it was such a great deal. However, I do have soft pastels already, and I think that you can mix water with soft pastels in general. These just happen to be marketed specifically towards being water soluble. So I figure at the end of this video, I will do a comparison with what I have currently that are soft pastels and they're not marketed as water soluble, and these are really pretty. They're thin sticks. They're not super crumbly, which is really nice, and they are very, very pigmented, which I love. I used them in a recent art hang and I had really great results with them. So I'll post some of those pictures as well. Coming up, I do have a very large sketchbook that I picked up during a sale at Jerry's. So I had to pull the camera back so you can see this bad boy. I also picked up an oil pastel pad that had this really beautiful textured paper, and it came with 20 sheets. It also had attached wax papers between each sheet, which I thought was really genius. And I used it in a recent art hang as well, in which Melissa Martin had some very similarly textured paper from IKEA, which I think would honestly be a lot cheaper if you're looking for that. But I'll have to go back to Jerry's and see how much this one cost. I did find a Krita Megacolor colored pencil sharpener, so now I can sharpen my chunky pencils without a knife, which is really nice. And I found some really beautiful Ecoline brush pens from Royal Talons. They had all the colors, and I picked just 4 colors that I thought would go really nicely together. Something I like about these is that you can refill them with the Ecoline inks that they sell. They're really easy to just pull out and then drop the ink in, so I thought that's awesome. I also picked up a variety of brushes. I love the quill style paintbrush from my watercolor stuff. The quill is the paintbrush that you'll see with like the metal wrapped around the base of it. I also picked up some paintbrushes I thought would be great with acrylic and oil paints, since I have an oil paint set that I have not dipped into yet. And I picked up this really pretty mop headed brush, very soft, and I could always use some more paintbrushes. I picked up another solid paint marker by Sakura. I didn't think that I had this color. I got home and I realized that I do have this color. So now I just have an extra, I guess. Now we are on to filling the paint palette. So these are all of the paint tubes that I picked up at Jerry's. These are some really, really pretty colors. So I'm going to let you just take a look at these. So we are going to speed through while you look at these, but the first one was the John Brilliant one. The next one was Burnt Sienna, Cerulean Blue, Verditer Blue, currently on Cobalt Green, a Terre Verte, Leaf Green, Cobalt Violet Light, Shell Pink, Opera Pink, because I have to. I got so many of these. I'm so sorry. Brilliant Pink. Schminke Super Granulating Shire Green. These are Winsor&Newton designer gouache, and the first one was Opera Pink. The next one is Aquamarine, and it's a green shade. Next, we're on to Daniel Smith colors, and this is a Quinacridone Rose. Amazonite Genuine, and it's a Primatech color. And then we have Spring Green, Buff Titanium, Pyrrole Scarlet. I have a small tube of this one, so I figure I'd get the big one. Mayan Red, Hansa Yellow Medium, Primatech Green. I don't know how to say this one. It's Apatic something, I don't know, Genuine, and Serpentine Genuine. Lavender, Wisteria, and last but not least, Quinacridone Gold. So these are gorgeous, and I'm going to swatch test them. And it's a chaotic swatch test, so I really do apologize because the camera goes a little wonky. I'm not going to voice over it because it's self-explanatory, but also bizarre. And then I'm going to go into filling the palette with these colors, plus a whole slew of other colors from that gigantic green toolbox that you see on my left. So I'm going to let the video roll, play some lovely little music, and I'll come back to you at the end. All right, enjoy. So I'm back. I wanted to just explain a little bit of the process that I was going through while filling this palette. originally this was supposed to be a 48 count palette, as I had mentioned, but it turned into a 62 or 63 count palette because I added an additional row in the middle. You can see the pans are kind of shifted in a different direction, and I added a few extra pans on the right hand side of the palette, I believe. So it brought the total up to 62 or 63. Again, I'm not really sure. Feel free to count though if you want to. The process of me filling this, because I wanted it to only be watercolor, was me digging through 99 tubes of watercolor that I have in my toolbox and selecting the colors that I knew were unique to one another. I did not want duplicates as I had in my previous palette, and I wanted to make sure I had a really good variety of colors. Now, of course, this many colors is not a requirement. These are simply for, what do they call it? Convenience. Yes, this is a convenience palette, but I love it. And I'm really excited to use it. So I'm going to show you what it looks like at the very end and compare it to the palette that I've been using for the past couple months. Alright, don't mind my messy desk. I've been working on resin projects, an oil painting project, another filming project. I mean, I have a mess. So, I mentioned that we would compare these. This is not the right palette. Let me go get the correct palette. This one is not. It's another black, very large palette. It's the Schminke one that I actually did a video on where it just held the tubes. I guess I'll talk about this. So it had stuff on it. It had these little like wavy dividers inside that my friend went and punched out for me. So, hold on. Okay, so the wavy dividers in this Schminke palette made it impossible to put pans in, like mini pans. So he removed those little wavy dividers for me so that I could fit these in there. How exciting. So I still have to put magnetic tape on the back of these, obviously. But these are already magnetic. Anyway, this is not what this video is about. I just figured I'd show you because I did have someone ask about how they could remove those dividers in a previous video. I'll show you what they look like, the dividers. These guys. So these guys were in the palette like that, holding the Schminke tubes. So if you have that palette and you're like, well, there's nothing I can do with it, you can apparently punch them out. He used a chisel and punched them out. So, all right, let's get on to the actual palette because I have that here. Okay, so this is the actual palette, the New York Central Art Supply black palette. I'm gonna move that. So this is after drying for a couple of weeks. They do still look wet, don't they? I was actually very concerned. I'm like, oh my god, they're not dry. But let me zoom in. So I like Turner gouache. I think it's really nice and fun to use. But Turner watercolor, for me personally, and maybe for other people, I'm not trying to like blame Turner at all, but what I've noticed is they always crack. So which one do you think is the Turner watercolor? If you think it's that blue, you'd be right. I've been pushing down and trying to like press it in and add more color on top, but yeah. These are not wet. They're just very shiny. Except for some of them, but yeah. The majority of this palette, I wrote it down in my little booklet so I could tell you what all the colors are, but I want to say the majority is going to be Daniel Smith. So I'm guessing that's why there's so many shiny colors. I think that they're Daniel Smith and Winsor&Newton, because I know that that shade for sure is a Winsor&Newton shade that I ran out of. That pan is not full because that was all I had left in the tube. It was a small, like 5 milliliter tube that I had used in my previous palette, and I love that color so much. So I will have to be buying that one again. You can see some of the colors that pulled away. You can see, like, I think that one was New Gamboge by Daniel Smith, and I had it in a small tube, so like I didn't have much left. That white is, I think it's, honestly, I don't know. I gotta go look at my list. I wrote all these colors down. As I was filling the palette, I had a pencil and a little notebook next to me so that I would keep track of the colors, because the first time I filled this palette right here, I didn't do that. I just filled it and was like, okay, good to go. And then I thought about it like way later. This was the first palette I've ever built, by the way. I thought about it later, and then I thought to myself, wait, what if I need to fill these colors again? What are these colors? And then I went into full panic, and I tried to figure out what they were, because I had actually filmed a video filling it, just never posted it. So I was able to kind of look at that and write down the color names. But so let me show you this one. Okay, so there's that one. And I use this one all the time. Whenever I go out, I've been using this palette. And eventually I'm going to fill out a little swatch card like I did for this one and put it in this big bad boy right here. But yeah, this was my daily driver right here. And it was a variety of colors too. I see a lot of Daniel Smith. There's the Turner. Yeah. I think you'll see some similarities in these palettes. I think some of the blues are very similar because I really, really fell in love with some of these blues here. Yeah. I will say I did put a few more super granulating Schminke colors in this one because I had just gotten a whole bunch of them in comparison to this one, where I don't think I put any super granulating colors in it, but these were, I wrote it out as Schminke, I think G, yeah, granulating, and then I think there was another granulating. There's another granulating. Yeah. And then I don't think I put any in this palette. But yeah, that is the finished palette, the convenience palette of my dreams right now. I don't know what that is in there. Oh, okay, dry paint, probably from this one. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed seeing this palette and my old palette in comparison. They're both really, really pretty. This one is getting a little muddy. I'll have to clean it soon, but it is still just one of my favorite palettes I've ever made. Maybe I'm partial to it because it's the first palette I've ever made ever. Since then, I have made some smaller palettes. So I don't think I want to do a swatch test of this one quite yet. I don't know. Maybe when I'm making the card, the swatch card, I'll do a swatch test. But for now, we're going to get into the soft pastels swatch that I had mentioned, the water soluble versus the regular, which is right here. 48 colors. Oh, so I have 48 here in this gigantic box and then 48 in this small box. Interesting. All right, let's swatch. Okay, so I have the big box here. You can't see all of it. And the smaller box. These are supposed to be water soluble. These are not marketed as such. So I'm gonna pull oh, I guess I don't have to pull that out. My bad. It's this little box. There we go. I think I'll just do this orange. There. And I mean, we're not doing a color comparison, but I feel like that's pretty similar. So that is the size comparison. Okay. So there is quite a bit of paper rubbing off on this one, which would be just the regular soft pastel, versus this one, which is the water soluble. But now if I rub it harder, it's coming up. So for some reason, that one started rubbing up a little bit faster. Granted, are they both water soluble? Yes. Are they both marketed as water soluble? No. That one is, which is that one. But yeah, can you use water with both? Yes, absolutely you can. So whether it's marketed towards it or not, do what you want with your art supplies. They're your art supplies. Play with them, have fun, put water on them, see what happens. Anyway, that's it for me. I will see you in my next video. Bye.